Hello everyone, welcome to Birth of a Soul. Well, we left off at, going to jail, Twin Towers. And let me point out again, Marie was the responsible one in this marriage. I created her demons and she knows that. Don't point her out to be a villain when God pointed her out to be a hero for me. Because he knew that he would use my behavior and transfer it to her to hurt me. And what was my response was to grab the Bible. Okay? Now, for 30 years, she held that marriage together. For 30 years, she was the responsible one. Raised those children of mine. And they turned out very, very well. So, she kept silent through my behavior. Okay? And so, and I do apologize, and I take full responsibility for my behavior and her behavior. And I deserved everything I got. And the thing is that God made me feel it 1,000 times more than she did. I've had like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dreams with her, and a few of them lately have been getting better, but the Satan always sneaks in and throws some very bad ones back at me. So that's why I always pray over my dream realm. So this is the way I look at her, and that's why I call her a hero. Without her, she taught me how to love. She taught me how to love through a broken heart. And so I don't blame her or anything like that, and what our future holds, I don't know. We haven't had that conversation yet, but I welcome it for sure. I will be going to getting my eye surgery tomorrow. I need that. But so anyway, now I'm at Twin Towers, and I'm going through the process. Met a guy in there who heard about what happened in Lake Elizabeth and saw the newspapers and reports and stuff like that. So, I did 90 days, 102 days in county jail, Twin Towers, waiting to get my sentence. Now, they kept pushing 8 years. And I got it down to a first-time offense. They dropped the violence of the arson, so I didn't have a strike. Gave me half-time, 4 years at half, so I only do 2 years. And I was very pleased with that. I was happy to get out of Twin Towers. Even there in Twin Towers, I started a Bible study. Everybody in our pod, in one way or another, was related to a God essence experience for me in training. So I was sentenced, and I went to Donovan. I was happy to get there because the first night I went there, we had real hot hamburgers, and then we had enchiladas and stuff like that. They made me EOP, enhanced outpatients, because of the label. And even on in prison, the inmates, they were training me in the Word of God. They were training me. I met a lot of good inmates there, and the Angel of Death. And he trained me on biblical culture of the time period. I always hung out in the chapel, and it was just a great experience for me. I needed to go there. I mean, when God showed up, it was 38 years after I ran through the light. So I spent the next 2 years in prison, which makes it 40 years altogether. And I went to a Kairos program in there, and had meetings and great food, and gave me a bunch of cookies and stuff, which I shared with everybody. And so there was a spot open for shot caller. And so I was getting into politics, prison yard politics, where I went out in the yard and I looked for people's support, vote yes for no. And so I won the shot caller of my block, and I was always a service to everyone, and I made the responsible decisions, and people come and talk to me about certain things. And so, I had my own self for a while and everything, but I only smoked a few cigarettes, had a chance to smoke pot, but didn't. I was completely purified, mind, body, and soul. No sexual things or anything going like that in prison. So they made me shot caller. Soon after that, they put me mainline. I went to the 5 block, which was the best block, and lived there for a little while. And our prayer circle from the chapel there. We had a guy released that was there for murder. He was released, and it's just everything was about God in prison. The inmates trained me. They spoke to me. Mr. Higgins from the chapel was the best singer ever, and I remember all those good people and everything like that, and even the guards were nice. It was just a great experience for me, and so I don't look at it as like doing time, hard time, because my mind was still free. I didn't have to worry about that. Yeah, I missed out on a lot of letters and stuff like that, but when the time came through, Jennifer did come through. I mean, she even doubled up on my packages while I was in Twin Towers, but she got me a radio when I needed it, because the one I had was a floater, so they confiscated it. But she came through right when I needed it. And some stuff happened on the yard and stuff like that. So, anyway, I got transferred to CSTAT, Corcoran, and there, I was having a lot of dreams in prison, and I do all the time. But when I was at CSTAT, I dreamt about the Haiti earthquake, and I had a confirmation 10 months after from the news. And I wrote Jennifer a letter about that and told her beforehand about the earthquake in Haiti. And I talked to the shrinks there at CSTAT and told them, hey, my dreams are coming true. And they go, well, that's a great power to have. No, it's not power, it's a gift. But also, while I was at CSTAT, they pulled me into a little room, and 5 guards or detectives surrounded me in this little closet room, wanted me to sign a blank piece of paper. I go, what? I ain't signing nothing, because they could have wrote anything on that paper. And I was still thinking, well, they're trying to lock me up forever and do this and that, which was probably correct, because I was still, trying to get over Marie and her relationship with that law enforcement officer. And so eventually, they put me in the psych ward in that place, and even that, my mind was like so weak and everything, and thinking all kinds of crazy things. And eventually I made it out of there and went across the street to Old Corcoran, and I was in confinement for 2 weeks before they let me out of the cell. And that's where I really kicked off my Bible study, my prison ministry. I organized it, I spoke on it, I preached on it. We had our own little circle, and and again, people are always, who were around me, had some knowledge of God, and they were training me throughout my whole time in prison and everything like that. And then, I had a really cool long beard, and, I worked out with some people, and it was a healing process. It took me 16 months to get over Marie. And, sometimes the nightmare still comes, and, but that's not her. That's Satan projecting into my dream realm and everything like that. And so I look at it totally different than the pain she caused me. I just believe that God used her to get my attention and stuff like that. And basically, so I got out of prison in Lancaster. I went to sober living at Stillwater Sober Living there. My parole was in Inglewood, but they let me stay up there. I went to college and got a bunch of money. Got off parole in 13th month because I padded my file with nothing but positive information, so they had no choice but to let me off early. And then I went to the house next door on the graduation program. And I was off drugs and everything for like 3 years and everything. I was going to Desert Vineyard Church in Lancaster, which was good at the time. I went through their divorce program and workbook to help me work through my problems and stuff like that. So, and again, I'm being followed by angels and gods everywhere and stuff like this. And and then I got my money from college, and I bought a little mobile home and stuff like that. Well, I had a couple girls moved in, and Linda, and then Cheryl. I had kind of sex with Cheryl, but I couldn't really do it, one and done. But I just told her I can't do it. I can't have consensual or sex that it just didn't mean it wasn't right for me to do that. And then eventually I became on the street again, hung out with Carrie and the homeless shelter there, and then in 2012, and even I had an angel walk through a portal in Lancaster, a black angel, and he talked to me, sat with me, and asked me what I was reading. I told him a book about God, and he told me that slavery was wrong, and I rolled a cigarette. He smoked a cigarette with me, and I told him that it took me so long to learn how to love that all I want to do now is give it away. And he touched my hand, and a little tear in his eyes, and said, he was wearing 2 pairs of pants, and he said he wasn't homeless, and so he walked away and turned back at me, and said, "Am I going to see you again?" I said, "Yeah." And he went to where the building was, where the bathroom was, and I never saw him come out. And I went and checked, and because I thought, well, maybe he'll continue down the street, but he disappeared. I went back to Lancaster when I left here in 23, and the portal, the street he walked in on, doesn't exist. There's houses there, there's trees that's been there for 30, 40 years, there's telephone wires, and he walked through a portal, and this has been going on ever since. And so Gloria came in, picked me up, and brought me to Joshua Tree, where I stayed with Charlene and Rhonda at that house for a little while. It didn't work out. And so I was on, the street here for a little bit, and then Justin took me into his house and his garage, and then I met Brenda, and from High Desert Behavioral Health. And so I moved in with her. She was a great woman, and she said she was looking for a Christian man, and that I saved her life because she went through so many stuff, and went to the church in Morongo Valley and everything like that. So we're up to date on that now, and so the relationship with Brenda, I fell in love with her too late. And I'll stop right there, and then I'll move forward the next video when we move back into Yucca Valley. Well, actually, I'll go to 2018 when I lived next to Shirley Pinero in the Yellow House, and she is a miracle in herself as well. And God bless you.